I picked up this Recumbent about 2 months ago. I got a really good deal on it, and it's the first time I'd ever ridden a Recumbent. I'd always wanted to get one just because of the comfort of the ride, but with the hills we have in our area, I quickly found out that they are not very good at hill climbing, and it makes it kind of miserable. So I decided to do an e-bike conversion. Tires I went with, both on the 20-inch on the front and the 700C on the back, are 100 PSI tires. I've been running them at about 85. The bike with all, the extra motor hub and the battery, and then I am not a small person, so that extra weight made me, I got to run high pressure tires, just to carry the load. So I decided to do a rear wheel power instead of front wheel, mainly because the frame of this bike is just a single tube, and I thought a front wheel drive would put too much stress on the weld right here in the front. So I went with rear wheel. It's a 750 watt. So this is the ebikeling kit. It's a 700C road bike tire with a geared hub. If you watch I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and you find out why I'm not looking to be a full-time e-bike just for a pedal assist on the hills. So you find out that I guess the geared hubs have less, when you're not using the motor, have less rolling resistance than a direct drive. So anyway, that's why I went with that. So the original wheel had an 8-gear cassette style. And then the kit comes with a 7-gear freewheel, but I wanted to keep the 24 speed, so I purchased a separate 8-gear freewheel and put that on. And it was pretty much no big deal to convert it. I just put the separate one on. I had to shim right in here with 2 washers just to keep the frame standing off a little bit. But other than that, there was no other major difference to swapping to a different freewheel. When you get the kit, it comes with the rear wheel, motor hub, everything. I bought a new tire, put some new tires on the front and the back. Comes with the controller and all the controls up on the handlebars. The battery I bought separate. I'll go over that in a second. So the most difficult part of the installation was putting the rear wheel on, and that was just kind of a little bit of a learning curve, but it went pretty smoothly, and it works really well. The bike rack here I robbed off my mountain bike and put it on here. And again, you gotta I use some clamps to secure the front end of it and onto the seat. Now, of course, that makes the seat a little more difficult to adjust, but I'm pretty much the only one who rides this bike. So the torque arm helps to reinforce the frame a little bit here. Now, normally on a regular bike, there's a hose clamp that clamps onto the frame here and here to keep it from rotating. But the way this bike is set up and where I had the kickstand and everything, I ended up bolting the torque arm to one of the caliper mounts, since I don't use disc brakes. And it was nice because I was able to bolt it up. I think it's a lot cleaner than using a hose clamp. So the battery mount is just bolted to the bike rack. This bolt here uses the attach point for a reflector on the back. This bolt here underneath, you can see I put a fender washer and a lock nut, and that's the only two. That makes it's really secure with just those two. So with the battery installed, it's 36 volt, 15 amp hour. It's rated up for a 1,000-watt motor. I'm using a 750. I wanted to have a rating slightly higher than the motor I was actually using. So the controller I was able to mount behind the seat, down low here, just above the frame. And I put 2 clamps in there and bolted it to the clamps. So it's technically bolted to the back seat back. The thing that worked out really well for me was the harness for the battery didn't need an extension and was pretty much the perfect length to reach this controller. Plus, with the controller in this location, the wires up to the handlebars, I mean, everything was pretty much the perfect length. The only thing I had some extra slack in was the motor wire, and all I did was just coil it around the controller and zip tie it. You'll definitely need to buy more zip ties than they give you in the kit, but that's okay, they're pretty cheap. Everything is zip tied along the frame. And I know some people don't use the pedal assist, but I wanted to, so I have the sensor on there, and then I also use the two brake handles that came with it because they have switches, kill switches in the handle. So if you apply the brake, the motor cuts out. But up here, now one thing about this cadence sensor, so in the instructions it says to take this off and pull the crank arm off for the pedal and then install this. Well, I spent about an hour trying to do that, and then I needed a puller. And then I happened to notice that this ring has a split line, and it has this metal. This must be a new design from what it shows in the instructions, because basically you can take this metal clip off and this pulls apart in the two halves. You can put the two halves on, snap them together, and then put this ring back on, and you don't have to take the crank arm off. Another thing, it didn't show in the instructions what the clearance should be on the pickup sensor for the magnets. I have about a 1/4 inch in there, and that works fine. So I guess just try it, and if it doesn't work, you'll have to get it closer. But I did have to, there wasn't a little bracket on the bottom of the pickup sensor to adjust it. I had to cut that off because I couldn't fit it between the, I couldn't fit the pickup between the frame and the wheel here. So I cut that off, put some double-sided tape, and put a zip tie around it. And then that all runs back to the controller. And then the other wiring runs up the handlebars. So up here on the handlebars, you mount the throttle, you mount the mode and select switches for the display screen. And as you see on the display, you get miles per hour, you get battery voltage, you get pedal assist, and you can toggle through the different levels of pedal assist up to 5. And then with the mode switch, you can toggle the bottom battery voltage, current draw, time each time you start it up, odometer. You can see I've only put 3.5 miles on it so far. A trip meter, and then that's it. And now there are other settings in here I haven't gone through, and you can turn stuff on and off, but I haven't gone into that yet. So this is a pretty good uphill, and you can see with pedal assist, it's no problem at all. So I was drawing 10 amps a few minutes ago, now I'm down to 6 as the hill flattens out a little. I've drawn 15 amps on this hill, which is the most so far. And it's not like not like I'm not getting any exercise. But at least I can get up the hill. $23 amps, 24 amps, 24 amps. This is throttle only. 24 amps. So the one thing I also had trouble with was on uphills from a stop. So I think if I can give it a little throttle and then get my feet up to the pedals, we're good. Gives me a lot more time to so this is 24, 23 speed. The hill drops off a little, you can see 24 amps, 26 miles an hour. So if I go 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I didn't even know there was a 0.